And welcome to Off the Dome Sports. My name is Sean Militello. I am your host. I hope everyone is having a great day. Thanks for everyone who's joining on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. I am joined by my co-host for the evening, Mr. Logan Graffia, my football expert and draft expert. How's it going, Logan?
It's going. You know it is. Another day, another dollar.
For sure, dude. And man, 2 weeks removed from the NFL? It's been 2 weeks, right? Since the NFL draft.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks too long. I think I waited forever to do a show for our draft grades on the Saints draft class of 2021. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's go look at the comments first. It's Kevin Fitzmaurice. Go check him out on JDF Sports. He said, off the Sean with Dome Militello. Hey, I might have to change my name to that. Mickey Johnson. He says, hurry the fuck up and start this shit.
I hate him sometimes.
See, I thought I had music playing, but I guess I didn't. Did you hear any music playing?
I did not. I sort of missed the Tom Sawyer Rush theme song. I kind of missed it.
Well, it's a new intro is in the works. I was playing music. I didn't add it to the stream. My bad, guys. Jacob Walker says, we in here. Man, these people are loving you. Michael Balco, he said, hey, yo.
What's up, Balco?
What up, Logan? Damn, everybody. Everybody. But anyways, yep, Kevin realized it. So let's dive right into it. Just go ahead and get straight to business. With our first round pick, I think we surprised a lot of people here with this pick. We draft defensive end out of Houston, Peyton Turner. He's a guy that a lot of people weren't expecting to get into the first round, but he was a guy that was going to sneak early in the second. Maybe a little bit of a reach, I would say. What do you think about this pick? And man, I wish it could have been somebody different, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wish it could have been someone different as well, because, I mean, I think they kind of got desperate because they tried to trade up into the top 10, and everyone just kept picking all their picks. I mean, they tried to trade, I think, with the Panthers to get J.C. Horn, and then once they found out, oh, the Saints are getting J.C. Horn, oh, we're just going to take him. So the Saints don't have him. Then they tried to trade in with the Vikings, I think, in front of the Vikings to get Mac Jones, which was in front of the Patriots. So that failed. Then they tried to trade up yet again to get, I think, Caleb Farley or Greg Newsome. Failed at that too. So all their top picks just kept getting drafted. And Peyton Turner apparently was higher on their board than some others, but apparently I read that someone told Schefter that one name to look out for is climbing up draft boards on draft day was Peyton Turner, which is odd because a lot of people had a third round or a fourth round grade on him. So I'm thinking maybe it was kind of a reach. I mean, we'll see.
Mike Triplet kind of quote tweeted. I think he quote tweeted Adam Schefter when he tweeted that, and he said this is one of the names that the Saints have looked at over the course of scouting these draft prospects. He kind of hinted to us a little, and we just didn't see it. Peyton Turner, man, I feel like it's a reach because I don't think he was a first-round talent. Now, he has a bunch of potential, and some people say he's raw. Some people don't say he's raw. And a lot of experts says there's a lot of abilities he does that at the pro level, a lot of guys don't do. And he has a lot of natural instincts as well. Let's look up his size real quick. I should have looked that up before I started talking about him.
People are basically comparing him to like another Marcus Davenport because, I mean, if you look at it on film, everything that he did at Houston is kind of what Marcus Davenport did at UTSA.
Right.
But, I mean, the Saints traded 2 first-round picks just to get Marcus Davenport. They didn't have to do that for Turner. And I don't even think they had to do that for Marcus Davenport back in however many years ago that was now. But I just think with Davenport's injury history, I mean, it seems like every other game he was getting injured.
Logan, your UX was waiting for you after the game. Uh-oh.
I don't yeah, my non-existent one. I don't have an X.
Keep up the good one, 51. But yeah,
Thanks,
man,
Coach.
Peyton Turner, man. And I feel like I think the first 3 or 4 guys that were probably on the board for the Saints was J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley, and Newsom. And obviously they tried their hardest to trade up in the top 10 to get J.C. Horn or Surtain. Didn't happen. And I felt like they didn't think Newsom or Farley was worth trading up for. So they figured, hey, if they fall to 28, we'll pick them. But if not, oh well. And that's what happened. Newsom was picked 2 picks before us. Farley picked, I believe, at 22 or something like that?
He went to the Titans. And then Newsom went to the Browns, which was a shocker.
And yeah, it's a shocker because they have Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward as well. And Greedy Williams might be on the trade block as well.
I don't know. I think the Browns are just finally building something like a complete team over there. So that's a great pick.
Darian Burns says 7-foot wingspan motor, don't quit, but injury prone.
I mean, if you look at Peyton Turner on film, I mean, I liked what I saw. I mean, it was like I was watching another Marcus Davenport, like a lot of people are comparing him to. I mean, maybe I think both are. I mean, if someone's injury prone for whatever reason, the Saints absolutely love them. I have no idea why, because they think, oh, they're injury prone, we could fix that, and sometimes they just can't. Marcus Davenport's been injury prone, but if Peyton Turner can not be injury prone, that could be great.
Yeah, I mean, when you read the scouting report and you look at the size of this man, and it's definitely Marcus Davenport is the comparison. But when I started watching his film, and the more I watched him, and I watched 3 of his best games he played in his career at Houston, and this was majority of his snap counts I watched. To me, he plays just like Trey Hendrickson. And it makes sense because we lost Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, and that's the guy we needed. And I tweeted out last week, he's best when pass rushing when he stands up and when he stands straight up and he's at the very edge of the line, and he uses his explosiveness the most when he stands up. And you know how the Saints love edge rushers, and sometimes they let him stand up or not. Trey Hendrickson was very effective. Peyton Turner is very explosive, and he has some good moves as a defensive end. He has a good what would you call it, swing move kind of deal, and he could beat the tackles in multiple various ways. He could go inside from the edge. He can beat you outside. Now he does struggle in the RPO game, and sometimes play action as well. I think he gets bit on who the ball might go to a lot, and he just goes for it. He doesn't. He's not patient, and which is something you could fix. He's not patient. He wasn't patient, waiting for who the runner, the ball carrier might be. Sometimes you got to sit in your gap, and I know. Me and you talked about it in the DMs, right?
Yeah, as a defensive end, I mean, RPO, I mean, some people say it's easy, some people say it's not, but I mean, as a defensive end, your job is to contain. I mean, you got to read and react, but on RPOs, you really don't have time to blink. You can't blink at all, because I mean, 1 minute you can be going in, then boom, there's a pass, or on the second option, of course, it's literally run pass option. So it could be a read option. Quarterback can keep it. Running back can keep it. So, I mean, some say, like I said, some say it's easy to stop, but he doesn't even have a sister.
Who's her cousin?
I don't know.
Who's
I don't.
Travis?
Uh, maybe she'll tell us. But I mean,
May,
it depends.
Calvary Kid 57 off of Twitter says, I heard the Saints knew about the Titans, yet they still didn't move up. Well, Newsom was still on the board,
He
so
was.
yeah. So maybe they're going for Newsom a little bit,
I don't think anyone saw the Browns taking him. I think we all thought the Browns was taking JOK, the linebacker of Notre Dame, in which they wound up taking in the second round. What a steal that is going to be, by the way. So, I mean, I think we got a decent haul. I guess we'll see. Hopefully, it's not like the same draft that we kind of got, like, Stanley Jean-Baptiste and all of those guys, because none of them guys panned out. So,
right.
I'm hoping this draft is kind of like how we found gems, like in the later rounds, kind of like with the Camaras and the Trey Hendricksons, Anzalonis, that kind of draft from a couple years ago.
Right. They stay with the jokes. But yeah, my thing is, and this is why I compare them to Trey Hendrickson. And I know Trey Hendrickson just had a breakout year, and I would say he might have been the top defensive player on the Saints this year. I would say, right? So
he had a breakout season.
But the first 2 years was just kind of bland, nothing crazy, but nothing bad. Is Peyton Turner a first-round talent? I don't know, man. He doesn't make enough game-changing plays for me. I didn't see much game-changing plays on tape. And I've seen a lot of plays that he affected. And I think in order for him to be successful, he would have to have a good defense surrounding him. I think he would be a great pass rusher in a good defense. I think, but if he doesn't have anybody to support him, I don't know if he would be as dominant as he was in college.
Well, I think he has, the best defensive line coach in the game in Ryan Nielsen.
True.
Ryan Nielsen is one heck of a defensive line coach, and I think he's a future DC in the league somewhere or even college. And I also think one day he'll be a head coach too. And I think he's going to be one heck of a head coach if he ever becomes that too. So I think if anyone could bring out the best in Peyton Turner, it's Coach Nielsen.
Right.
And I want to shout out my boy Calvin for watching, my friend that plays defensive end for Louisiana Tech. Thanks for watching.
You talking about
Calvi Kid 57. There he is.
That's who you're talking about. He said LA Tech about to snap the mud hole of Southeastern this year.
I hope not.
Iggy says, I think you'll be the head coach too, Logan. Hey, maybe so.
Hopefully, that's a thought.
And you brought up a good point. We got some of the best defensive line. We got one of the best defensive line coaches in the league in Ryan Nielsen. And honestly, I think a big part of the reason why we drafted this kid so early is his 3-cone drill, and he dominated that drill at his pro day, and he ranked in a certain percentile. Oh, he was better than a lot of pro players, pro edge rushers in the league right now, and that's honestly why they drafted him. The Saints like to draft a lot of guys who there's certain drills they look at. And they also look at, obviously, if the kid's smart or not. And Peyton Turner, he looks like a bright guy, and he's very athletic, and he's got great upper body strength as well. I've noticed that.
You have to on the defensive line. You got to.
For sure. He knocked a lot of people on their ass, and he's played against some All-American tackles. He played one against BYU. I forgot his name.
I think it was Braden Christensen.
Yeah, you're right. He was an All-American.
Right.
Yeah. And he played actually pretty well against him. That's one of the tapes I watched. And he disrupted Zach Wilson a lot. He forced Zach Wilson to roll out of the pocket a lot and made him throw some sloppy throws. So, I would like to see him when he does get in starts playing, maybe progress into something a little bit more a game changer. Because what I want to see out of a pass rusher, I want him to be a game changer. I want him to get sacks. I want him to force fumbles. I want him to force turnovers, and that's all I want. And maybe that's something that Ryan Nielsen will work on him.
We can only hope. But my question to you is now, what grade would you give that pick? I know it was a first-round pick, but what is your personal grade on that?
Initially, I gave it a D, but after watching the film, I gave it a C-.
I'm kind of in the same range. I mean, we don't know what he looks like when the bullets are flying live in regular season. I mean, of course, we're going to get to see how he looks in preseason, but regular season is the only thing that matters.
Right.
So I kind of gave him a C+. I gave it a C+ because, I mean, I hate using the word potential because I just really hate using the phrase, oh, he's got such good potential, because it never works out. So I'm just going to say
everybody has great potential. That's the thing.
Everyone. So I'm just going to give him a C+. Yeah, I think he has a ceiling. He has a good ceiling. I'm just going to say that instead of potential.
Yeah, you know what? And I think it's pretty good that he doesn't have to start right away. And we picked up Marcus Davenport's fifth-year option. We still have Carl Granderson. We picked up the young veteran out of Kansas City.
Tenno Pessenway. I had to listen to T-Bob Abear's show when we signed him to see how he pronounced it. Because, I mean, looking at it, I thought it would have been something different. So I think it's just passing way. Like, there's some letters in his last name that you don't pronounce, which is crazy.
Right. 4, 5, 6. But yeah, I'll give it a C-. That's about it. And you still got Noah Spence. He's coming off the injury, so he doesn't have to play right away. So we get into the second round. We draft Pete Warner. How you say his last name?
It's Pete Warner.
Okay, Pete Warner. That's what I thought. Out of Ohio State. Now, Ohio State linebackers, they are kind of subpar linebackers in the NFL. You got your Jerome Bakers of the world, which is who I compared them to. You got your McMillan.
Raekwon McMillan from the Dolphins.
Here's an old school one, James Laurinaitis.
Man, I used to love that guy.
Bobby Carpenter.
Oh, that's one I haven't heard in a long time.
So, I mean, Ohio State produced all these linebackers, but some of them never really panned out. Jerome Baker is pretty damn good, though. And that's who I compared to him, and I gave him an overall B for this pick because it was a position of need, and he is somebody that will probably rotate in with Sack Bond, which a lot of teammates of Sack Bond have really came out and say he's going to take the lead this year. So, Pete Warner, what's your initial reaction to him, and what do you think of him?
So, when we drafted him, I was kind of a little bit like taken away because Jabril Cox was on the board still.
Right
now, I didn't know that Jabril Cox was going to slip all the way into the 4th round, dang near the 5th. But when I watched him, he just kind of reminded me of a better version of Alex Anzalone, who we just lost. So I really just think they just wanted another Alex Anzalone, which he was good, but he wasn't great at coverage. I mean, the Saints play a nickel 2-4-5 scheme, which is basically just all coverage most of the time. And Alex Anzalone couldn't cover. And if you look at Pete Warner, I mean, he was decent at Ohio State because, I mean, a lot of the college defenses are I'm sorry, there was a moth flying around me. Anyway, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But anyway, when you look at Ohio State, I mean, he wasn't that great at coverage, but he wasn't bad. But he still has room to improve. I mean, I think that I'm trying not to be biased, but I mean, I think Chris Richard is just such an underrated coach. I loved it when he was in Seattle, even before he was the DC.
Linebacker coach with Dallas. He made Jalen Smith, Vander Esch pretty damn good.
I don't even think he was the linebacker coach. I think he was just the defensive pass game coordinator, but that still helps with their passing scheme on the defensive side. But Pete Warner, I mean, he's a very good downhill linebacker. He's great at the run, of course. I mean, what linebacker isn't great at the run these days? Coverage is my biggest question mark. Because, I mean, like I said, when someone like Jabril Cox is on the board, who is literally very great at coverage, and you pass on him for a Buckeye, which I know Sean loves his Buckeyes, which, I mean, it's worked out for us, but in some cases, but I kind of give it a B minus because, I mean, and another linebacker that was available was JOK, and they passed on him too, and he went to Cleveland.
Right.
So, I mean, I give it a B minus because he has a high ceiling too, I think, because, I mean, I just have nothing else to say. It's just, it was a baffling pick for me, so B minus.
And I actually think I almost said Alex Anzalone as a comparison, but I think Pete Werner is a better coverage guy than Alex Anzalone. And if you watch the film, he played very well in zone. He also shown he could cover most tight ends. Plus, he contains the checkdowns to running backs pretty well as well. He locks in. He tracks the ball very well, and he can run sideline. Once he tracks the ball down, it's over with. And he's very good at gang tackling as well. He's when he has a teammate that goes for a tackle and they might be struggling a little bit, he goes up and goes help him tackle, and he's a good team player. He's not as explosive that I would like him to be, and he's not much of a blitzer, and he's an average tackler. I think he's like a conservative tackler. He lets the guy come to him. You kind of like when you go for a tackle, you kind of just let him. You just kind of let it suck in. If that makes sense. You're a linebacker. Yeah,
I understand. Trust me.
Right. You kind of hold on to him and you bring him down with you. Kind of type of deal. And he's another guy that posted some I can't remember what drills he did pretty well in, but he's another athletic guy. He did pretty well in his certain drills that the Saints saw, and it was good from there, and that's mostly why they drafted him. It was mostly why a lot of these guys we drafted is based off certain drills, and they like to pick certain guys. And you go back off the two guys you were talking about, JOK and Jabril Cox. We interviewed Jabril Cox about 8-9 times, and
a lot.
You go back to all these guys we drafted, they all said they might have talked to the Saints once.
Some of them didn't even talk to the Saints. So,
exactly.
I think Peyton Turner said he didn't even know the Saints was interested because he didn't interview with the Saints. I mean, he didn't have no one at his house. He didn't have no cameras at his house. He wasn't even expecting to get drafted in the first round.
Right.
And even Pete Werner, I think he said he, like you said, only talked to the Saints maybe once, and that was it. He said well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the only person that we drafted that said they was in a lot of contact with the Saints
was in Book, huh?
I think it was Ian Book. He said he interviewed with the Saints a lot, and then I think Paulson Adebo said that he interviewed with the Saints once. Pete Werner said he didn't even really talk to the Saints. So
right.
I guess these days you don't have to interview to be drafted.
Right. Yep, and that's true. And they like to keep things hush hush, and I think they interview certain players so many times. I don't know, maybe to scout them a little bit more. I don't know what their purpose is. That why do they interview somebody multiple times and then they pick people that they don't interview? Like, what's the purpose of that?
That is something that baffles me as well. But I mean, I guess they're looking for a certain prototype of a player. Because I mean, I was looking on Twitter. Someone posted an RAS score thing, which is like some type of athletic profile build or whatever, and they all kind of had like the same type of number. So they was looking for like a certain athletic prototype for that position of player. So it looks like Peyton Turner fits that certain profile they was looking for, Pete Werner, and so on and so on. So I mean,
And yeah, for sure. And I hope Pete Warner pans out because we really need that second linebacker to step up. And I really think we should bring back Quan Alexandra.
I do too.
Once he gets healthy enough, and I would say I don't know when he would be healthy. Maybe like week 4 in the season. I don't know.
I've been watching his rehabilitation, and he's
Mm-hmm.
been rehabbing progressively well. So I think he might be ready for at least the preseason from what I've been reading and I've been looking at. Because, I mean, an Achilles takes a long time to come back from. But for him, I think he did that right, I think in the Chiefs game, if I'm not mistaken. And that was around November.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been many months since then. He might be ready for training camp. He might be ready for preseason in that time range.
And normally it takes, 6 to 8 months to recover for an athlete?
It depends on who the athlete is, because some people don't come back from it. So,
Donald Hill of the 3-Man Weave, go check them out. He says Pete will be legit. I wonder if it's a guy that Donald wanted. I think he messaged me about him. He also texted me that. I mean, I hope he's legit. We need it. We need it. And maybe Sack Bond will step up, and maybe we'll have him rotate, and it could be a good little trio of a linebacker, DeMario Davis, and then rotate the other two, we'll see. And we also got a couple guys that are sleepers, like your Caden Ellis. We also have guy, I forgot his name, but they really like him. He's out of Michigan State. We still have him on the roster. They really like him.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think we cut him and someone signed him. I think it was Joe Leitchie or something to that effect.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it is.
Pretty sure they cut him, and he, I think, signed with, ironically, I think the Carolina Panthers.
Wow. Carolina, man. And they still in all our which, speaking of that, Carolina traded up right in front of us because they knew we were going to pick Terrence Marshall.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I prefer Browner and Dallas, but we don't have DeMario Davis.
Which Browner? Oh, he's talking about Baron Browning. Okay.
Yeah. He was more of a pass rusher, wasn't he, at Ohio State? I'm not too sure. I didn't really watch him.
He was hybrid, but at first I thought he was talking about Brandon Brown. I'm like, oh, God.
I was like, what?
Boy, you just don't know. Oh, boy.
Now, we go to round 3, and this is one of the more intriguing prospects that we drafted, in my opinion.
Oh, yes.
Because I think he has, and we just said we hate saying he has potential, but this guy really has potential. Paulson Adebo out of Stanford. And what do you think of him? I'll let you go first.
Man, I wanted us to get a corner in the first round. I'm sure everyone did. And when we finally got one, I'm like, okay, it's been a while since I heard this name.
Mm-hmm.
But once they started playing the clips, like, oh, that's who we got. Because Ross Jackson, who I'm sure you've seen on Twitter a lot, from the Locked On podcast that I listen to from time to time, always talked about this guy, Paulson Adebo. So I started watching film. I mean, he opted out of the 2020 season because of COVID. But he's a really good corner. I mean, he's a really good cover corner. I don't know how good he is at playing man-to-man, but like in just cover 3, base coverage schemes, I mean, he's really good. Man-to-man, I mean, I've seen a little bit, and he looked very good. So if I had to give my grade on that, I'd give that probably a B+ or an A-. I think he might be a steal.
I honestly think it could be a steal. And the one part I would say he is lacking, and which is totally fixable because he's highly capable of being a man-to-man shutdown corner. He lacked in man-to-man. He's sometimes he was too aggressive. He watches the ball too much at times. He's very physical though. He's very physical, and he has the speed to keep up with most wide receivers. But the thing with him, he does get beat right off the line. Like I said, he watches the ball too much. He's too aggressive, trying to go for the ball. To me, he's a guy that could possibly go to safety, and we only have Marcus Williams for one more year. So he's a guy that could change to safety. He's a ball hopping safety. Well, a corner.
I don't know if he will ever go to safety. I mean, I think they're trying to get a long-term deal done for Marcus Williams. I think he'll be here for a while. I mean, I know we still got to give Lattimore his extension. I know we still got to give Ramczyk his, but Kai and Mickey are always good at like digging up money somewhere, wherever it is. But I don't think I just don't see him moving the safety. I think corner is like, I mean, he.
Well, I say that because he is excellent in zone, in which we run a lot of zone with our quarterbacks, but at times he's going to get beat man to man, and teams are going to find a way to put him in man to man situations. He's going to have to work on it, but he's very capable of fixing man to man situations. But the thing is, if he can't fix it, I think moving him to safety might be his second option to be successful in the NFL, and I gave a grade as a B, and I compared him to Janoris Jenkins. I thought that was a good comparison.
Man, I don't really have a comparison for him because I mean, it's an intriguing pick, but I just can't come up with it. Like, I feel like what is a decent comparison. I mean, Janoris Jenkins might be good, but I mean, I'm trying to come up with
physical, aggressive corner. And
I just thought of one. I mean, he might be kind of has similarities to Denzel Ward from Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
If he becomes that, him and Lattimore can, that would be nice. But I don't know if he's ready to start though.
Right, I honestly don't think he is, and which is scary actually, because Marshall Lattimore might be out for a couple games due to suspension.
We don't know yet. It's been very quiet on all that stuff going on. I mean, there's like three things in the NFL going on between the Aaron Rodgers stuff, the Sean stuff. I mean, the Marshall Lattimore thing, I think, has basically over with. No one has said anything about it since it happened, so I think that's pretty much cleared up.
I hope
if Goodell was going to hit us with a suspension, he probably would have hit us with one already. Because I mean, he always does it to us early.
Right, for sure. Look, Paulson Adebo.
I think he's going to be good.
I think that was a good pick, and I'm ready for him to be a number 2 corner in the league. It might take some time, but we'll see what he does. So, okay, I would say this pick might be the most shocking. And in the 4th round, we draft quarterback in Book out of Notre Dame. And Logan, I know you don't like him. I like him.
I never said I didn't like him. I just said he wasn't my first choice. But I mean, I don't mind him at all. I actually like the pick. When I saw us pick him, and when the name was announced, my jaw dropped because I'm like, oh snap, we drafted a quarterback. Yes, finally.
Right. But even though I liked him, I still gave it a D. Because I thought it was a reach, and we didn't need a quarterback, in my opinion. I know you said we might have needed a quarterback, but at that point in the 4th, 5th round, who cares, man? Like I think you could have went wide receiver with this pick, and I think you should have went wide receiver. Instead, you waited to the 7th round to get a wide receiver. You know, I don't think Book was the pick there, and I think Book probably would have lasted to the 5th or 6th round. I don't know.
You don't know how the draft works. It might be, but yeah, Calvin, I wanted Kyle Trask. Everyone knows I did, but that didn't happen.
Him going to Tampa is scary, dude.
I kind of figured that was going to happen because I forget who it was. It might have been Jeremy Fowler, like before the draft, that said the 2 teams to look out for Kyle Trask was Tampa and the Saints, and sure enough, it was the Buccaneers. But as for us drafting Ian Book, I woke up that morning and Calvin right here, Calvin Kid 57 can vouch for this. I went into the group message that me and him are in, and I actually texted him this too. I said, "Here's a name to watch out for today. Watch the Saints draft Ian Book," and he could pull up the text messages probably right now. And sure enough, right after I said it, we drafted Ian Book. Because if you I listened, I think a couple nights before the draft happened, before the first round, to Mike Detillier was talking to Matt Moscano on the radio, and he said he didn't think Kyle Trask was going to the Saints. He said there's one name that Sean's always talked about, and I've heard Sean say it many times. It's Ian Book, and sure enough, it was Ian Book. I mean, Sean leaves breadcrumbs around, as Mike Detillier says. So, I mean, he kind of let us know, like, hey, if Ian Book's available, I'm gonna take him. But I mean, I literally after that night, I also sent Calvin many YouTube links too. I watched an hour or so of film on this guy, and I mean, there's a lot of good things. There's some bad, of course. There's always bad, but I mean, I think he could be very, very good. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't see him as a career starter." Well, I mean, no one ever thinks that. I mean, I know the only thing we got to compare a late round quarterback to is Tom Brady, and look how good that worked out. I'm not saying this kid's Tom Brady whatsoever, but I mean, like everyone's always telling me with the Jameis thing, oh, Sean Payton's a quarterback guru. Okay, we got Ian Book. Sean Payton's a quarterback guru, like y'all say. Let's see it. Let's see how it goes.
For sure, and the positive things are he's a efficient, accurate timing passer, which is something that Sean Payton really values, and he especially this is mostly in the short and immediate field. But he's patient, he's posed under rush, and he steps up to avoid defenders. I mean, and he runs if he has to, and he's actually he's a solid runner. And I think that's what honestly intrigued Sean Payton. Not only he can make the smart passes, make the most efficient pass, he can also run when he has to. And that's something that Sean Payton likes from him. And I know he does. And the one thing I would say he struggles with is his deep throws. He's not a deep ball thrower. And he kind of, even though I say he's patient, he's sometimes a little too patient. That's kind of his downfall at times. It's also a good thing. It's also a bad thing. He could be patient in a good way, and he could be a little too patient in a bad way. And his pocket stature is not all that great as well. I also read somewhere that he passes all the Bill Parcells check marks, which
Sean Payton uses that a lot.
Right. And he looks up to Bill Parcells, and what that is the signal caller. He's a signal caller. He checks all those boxes. He's a 3-year starter. He was a senior in college.
Mm-hmm.
He completed over 60% of his passes and has a touchdown to interception ratio over 2-1. So and he's also Notre Dame's most winningest quarterback with over 30 wins.
He's a 30-5. He has a record of 30-5. I mean, hell, Joe Montana didn't even do that at Notre Dame. So I mean, I should say something. I mean, the kid played in some big games. A lot of people bring up the Bama game, but I mean, let's be honest here. What team really does do good against Bama these days? I know LSU did a couple years ago, but it's just like it just seems like Bama's good every year.
And I'm glad you mentioned up the Bama game because that's one of the few games I watched his film on, and he actually wasn't that bad in that game. It was just clear that Alabama had more talent and it was the better team. And
most definitely.
What I seen from that game, even though they were outmanned, he still fought. He still fought to the very end. As you see, he scored a late touchdown at the end.
The game was way out of reach by then, no, but he didn't stop.
Mike Derrick off to YouTube. Thanks for the comment on YouTube. He said the Saints are going to be 11-6, and there's no other possibility. I'll take it. Honestly, I would take it.
I'm gonna reverse that record. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, but my record prediction is reversed.
Hey, look, I'm keeping my mouth shut. I don't even know what to expect. I'm not even gonna say anything. What our record's gonna be? I'm telling you right now.
If we do good, I'm gonna have a bunch of people with pitchforks and torches in my Twitter mentions. I'm gonna tell you that.
Okay, look here, Logan. If Jameis Winston becomes a top 10 quarterback, you got to buy his jersey.
Everyone has actually. You're not the first person to tell me that. I mean, I'm a man of my word. I mean, fine.
I got his
Fine.
jersey already.
I mean, all right, fine. I mean, heck, I didn't even buy Aaron Brooks' jersey when everyone was a big, huge fan of his. So I mean,
nah, I'm good on Aaron Brooks. Fernando says, and welcome back, Fernando. He hasn't commented in a long time. He says, "In book is a good choice, dude, smart, and a winner." That is also true.
he's a winner.
And Nick Underhill tweeted, I think that's what he said. Good job, Logan. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for joining in, Burn.
Thanks, Coach. I'll see you at practice.
Nice. And I'm gonna be on you, Logan, if Jameis does well. Yeah, we're over.
Everyone
500.
is. I'm very well prepared for it. Believe me, I'm very prepared for it.
And honestly, that's what you would want, right? Because you want to be successful. But I understand, like everybody has doubts with every certain player. So I mean, it's not that we want him to fail, you know.
It's just, I mean, the thing with, I know we got to get back on Ian Book in a second and the other players, but I'm just going to say this. I know everyone's been sending me clips of all these different workout videos that Jameis has been doing. I mean, and I love that. I absolutely love it. I have nothing against the guy. I really don't. It's just, I want to see him do that when the bullets are flying live. And if he has a game the first week of the season with like 4 picks or something, I mean, what are we gonna say about all those workouts? I mean, and then what if he has like consistently has like 3 to 4 pick games? I mean, and I see what Fernando. I know we got a winning record without Breeze, but I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is like an accurate game manager. Taysom Hill was just, I don't even know Taysom Hill wasn't bad. I mean, 70% completion rating, but I mean, with Jameis, the word potential, I hate that so much, but I mean, I'm not saying I hate the guy. It's just, I just don't see him being the future. I really don't. I understand he has the arm talent. I understand he has all these things that people are telling me, oh, he was this coming out of college. He was this coming out of college. But I mean, let's see when the bullets are flying live.
Dude, I love in-book, but I don't think we should have drafted it in the 4th round. I think we should have laid it in the 5th or 6th. That's why I gave it a D. And I would label him, and I don't think he's the future. I really don't. I always thought he was going to be somebody like a Chase Keenum or a Tyler Heineke, which I thought was a good comparison, or maybe a Colt McCoy, which Colt McCoy, as far as college success, is a good comparison with in-book because they both had success and they won a lot. Fernando says, who dat? But in book, I would label him as a game manager, and I think that's what he will be. When he gets to come in, he's going to manage the game. He's not going to throw stupid passes. He's just going to do his job. He's going to throw the most efficient pass, and that's what he's going to do. I don't think there's anything special about him. I just think, he just makes smart, efficient passes. And is he a starting quarterback? I don't know. But, if we need a guy to come in and just hold the team while the starter is out due to injury, hey, if it's worth a 4th round pick, I'm fine with that. If he can keep the team afloat, that's all he has to do.
For my grade, I give him a C. And I mean, I've heard many comparisons. I heard Daniel Jeremiah compare him to Rich Gannon, Colt McCoy. He also mentioned that Dabo Sweeney, Clemson's head coach, compare him to Joe Montana. I'm sure he said that because they was playing against him when they was at Notre Dame, and he was very good at Notre Dame. I don't see Joe Montana, but if he does become Joe Montana, then we're set for a long time. But
right,
the Rich Gannon and Colt McCoy comparisons are really good. I mean, I really think he's going to be good for us. I'm not saying he is the future, but if he is the future, I mean, he might be really good for us because I mean,
I think
everyone says he
Chad
has.
Kelly is another good comparison as well.
And also, I just want people to stop comparing him to Taysom Hill because even Coach Sean Payton said he's not Taysom Hill.
Not even close because
he's not as athletic as a Taysom Hill. I mean, hell, Tim Tebow isn't even as athletic as Taysom Hill anymore.
Not even close, dude. Dante Culpepper. Dante Culpepper was known for his deep ball passing and his
man, I got to throw.
The way he just could probably throw the length of a field is just crazy. And Inbook's not a deep ball passer. I don't know about that.
Not yet. He might be, but I think we got to go to the 5th round pick. We've kind of dragged on Ian Book long enough. I gave it a C, a flat C.
For sure. And we move on to, I think we drafted Landon Young out of Kentucky in the 6th round, right? It was.
We didn't have a 5th round. My mistake, guys. I forgot.
So that was our next pick. So he's a guy. You look at it. He had a relative athletic score of 9.18 at his pro day. 6'6", 310 pounds. He logged a 95th percentile 1.72 10-yard split, a 30.5-inch vertical, and a 108-inch broad jump, and 34 bench reps with arms that almost measured 34 inches. So, he has good burst. You would say he would have good burst off the line and length, and he has raw strength. But he's short with his lateral mobility, his knee bend, and able to multitask. So what do you think of Landon Young?
So reading up on him, because when we drafted him, I had really no idea who he was. So, of course, the researcher in me, I researched, and he's a good pick. It's actually an underrated pick because, I mean, he could play all 5 positions because, I mean, he's had some reps at each position, but he's mostly a right tackle, like Coach Payton said, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I'm not sure if he's scared that they're not going to be able to keep Ramczyk, but I mean, I'm thinking that's got to be the most important deal for next season is extending him. But I can see Landon Young playing inside because, I mean, Ruiz was I know he was a rookie last year, but he was god awful last year. And Andres Pete, you know how I feel about him. I mean, I don't understand why we kept him. If Landon Young can be a bad to the bone left guard, that'd be great. But also, Teron Armstead's getting up there a little bit in age. I mean, when Teron's healthy, I think he's one of the best tackles in the league, top 5 in my opinion. So, I mean, Landon Young is kind of going to be probably that Will Clapp player where someone goes down, he's going to go in. Or maybe like Nick Easton, when someone goes down, he's going in. So, I think I actually give that one an A+ because, I mean, you can't – those guys don't get enough credit because, I mean, the offensive line is what makes the offense go. Without them, you don't have an offense.
You got to win in the trenches. It starts in the trenches.
It starts in the trenches 100%.
And Fernando agrees with you. He gives it an A+. I gave it a C.
It's average, yeah. I mean, he's
average.
An average lineman, but I have to give it an A because, I mean, like I said, like you said and I said, it's one in the trenches. And like Calvin is saying, he's a good plug-and-play guy. I mean, you can't have too many good offensive linemen. Now, hopefully this isn't like when we drafted Rick Leonard a couple years ago because, I mean, he didn't even make the squad. No. But Landon Young, I mean, an SEC guy coming from Kentucky, good program over there. I mean, I like the pick. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating with the A+ thing, but I mean, like I said, you can never have too many good offensive linemen.
0 sacks in the SEC. That is impressive, actually.
That's very impressive. SEC, I think, has the best NFL talent, in my opinion. I might be a little biased, but a lot of the Big 12 and Big 10s get drafted over them, which is baffling to me. But, man, that's very impressive, especially when you're in the same division as Bama and the Floridas and LSUs and stuff like that.
Well, the thing is, He was offered by Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, Ohio State, and Miami. He's just from Lexington, Kentucky, so he's a diehard Kentucky guy. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
why he went to Kentucky. So if you're getting offers from them guys, because you would think, oh, he went to Kentucky, maybe he was only like a 3-star, 2-star recruit, because Kentucky's on the lower end of the SEC schools, even though they're on the up.
he was a 5-star.
Well, he was a 4-star
Oh,
on
4-star.
ESPN. Well, on ESPN's board. I don't know any other boards. He might have been a 5-star for 247. But yeah, I mean, be a 5-star and offered by Alabama, Ohio State, Auburn.
That's
I mean,
impressive.
yeah, and he's a 6th-round pick. The thing is, I think he was a 6th-round pick because I believe he had an injury that took him out for the whole year. And then he,
We have to
and
go
he's
back and look.
right. I'm not too sure. We can go back and look on that one later. My pro comparison, and I think y'all might like this one. Zach Strief.
I mean, Zach Strief was good for us for a long time. I mean, he was good up until the point until J.J. Watt said, y'all got to get a new right tackle. And then we did. So, I mean,
It took
Strief is a good
year or
comparison.
two for Strief to start. So maybe it'll take a year or two for Landon to start, right? It took a while for Strief to start, huh? It wasn't until John Stinchcomb retired.
Exactly. He was the backup to John Stinchcomb in the Super Bowl. And then after he left, Strief was the guy. And then after Strief, we got Ryan Ramczyk. And I mean, good guy. He's been so good. Landon Young, I don't really have a comparison that comes to mind right now, but Strief is as good as comparison as any. But I just can't say enough. I think, like Fernando said, I mean, A+. And like you said, it's one in the trenches. You just really can't have enough good offensive linemen.
Right.
Without them guys, your offense doesn't go. You can't run the ball. You can't throw.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys deserve all the credit in the world. Because, I mean, we've seen it with Cleveland. I mean, the Cleveland had, I know we talk about Derrick Henry, but Cleveland had, in my opinion, the best run game the whole season. You got to credit the offensive line for that, too. Not just Chubb and Kareem Hunt. That offensive line was outstanding.
For sure.
I think Landon Young is going to be a steal. Hopefully I'm not wrong.
Calvin says, remember the last old man we took injuries, Big Ram.
Ramczyk. Yeah, That's right. He had injury history.
And Fernando agrees with me. He says that's the same person he thought of, Zach Strief. He said even Bushrod. So certainly. And then we go to the 7th-round pick. We finally pick a wide receiver. A lot of people actually like this, actually. Gowan Baker out of South Alabama.
I think he is just the perfect slot receiver. I mean, you watch him on tape. He's got wheels. I mean, wheels, jets, whatever you got to call it. I mean, this guy is fast. I mean, I already said this. I think Calvin's probably going to remember me saying this on Twitter. I'm going to be so happy when Ian Book throws a freaking 50 to 60-yard touchdown to Gowan Baker in the preseason. I can't wait for that. I think Gowan Baker is going to be very, very good for us.
For sure. And I compared him to Traquan Smith. And I don't know, that might be lazy, but I really think that's what he plays like a little bit. And when we drafted Traquan, we moved him into the inside as a slot rather than what he played in college as an outside. But he played inside and outside with South Alabama. And like you just said, he's quick, he's fast, and he could be a good little slot wide receiver for us, which we've been needing the slot wide receiver for a good while now, I would say,
In my opinion, we haven't had a great slot receiver, and I know this is going to date me and a lot of other people. In my opinion, we haven't had a great slot receiver since Devery Henderson. I mean, that guy
Lance Moore.
I mean, Lance Moore was a slot, but I kind of always saw him as kind of like our wide receiver 2 at the time. Because, I mean, we had him, Colston, and Henderson. I always thought Henderson was the better slot receiver. But, I mean, Gowan Baker, I mean, I didn't know him at first I didn't know too much about him when we drafted him. Because, I mean, I know I follow a lot of the smaller schools because I'm a Southeastern guy. But, I mean, I didn't think we was going to draft him. I mean, he didn't even think he was going to get drafted. I mean, he was already prepared to sign with the Saints as an undrafted free agent, but they made the call and drafted him. So, but I think he might be a steal.
Well, yeah, he could be still, and what makes him as a potential a starting SWAT wide receiver is his initial burst off the line and
Quick first step.
Yeah, and his 10-yard split on his pro day verified that he ran 1.49 second 10-yard split. That's electric, you know.
Electric like the Flash.
He also ran a 4.43 at his 4. I mean, it's another guy. He measures out on his pro day, and it's another guy that the Saints draft with great athletic ability. No shocker there, you know.
None at all. I mean, I really love the compare. I mean, he's just such a great slot receiver guy. I mean, he might wind up being better than Tre'Quan Smith because, I mean, with Tre'Quan Smith, you don't know what you're going to get on game day. Is it going to be the Tre'Quan Smith that drops a wide open pass every freaking time, or is it going to be the Tre'Quan Smith that goes across the middle, takes the hit, and catches the ball? Because, I mean, when he was at UCF, I mean, that was that team that went undefeated and claimed to be the national champs. That's where Tre'Quan comes from. I mean, it was a good program, don't get me wrong, but we don't know what Tre'Quan we're going to get. Now, I really hope that Kwan is better than Tre'Quan because, I mean, you look at him on tape, he's tremendous. I mean, I don't know if he was – I mean, you could put him anywhere. You can even use him kind of like how we used Dante Harris on like end arounds, screen, like wide receiver screens, things like that. You can even use him on special teams in a return game if you wanted to. So, I mean, so Deontay doesn't have to carry that load the whole time. Like if Deontay gets tired of being on punt return and kick return, you could put Kwan back there to loosen the load a little bit.
And Calvin says he thinks the Saints have gotten great value at wide receiver with undrafted free agent and late round picks.
We have. I mean, Marcus Colston is most definitely the most notable one. I mean, he almost irrelevant.
Calvin mentioned Tulane wide receiver we signed before
the
draft. Yep. He played at Oklahoma State first and then transferred to Tulane. And honestly, I didn't know who he was. I think he played for the Broncos last year. He went on the practice squad, or was that what that was? Or
I'm not entirely sure, but I can tell you this: I've actually personally played against him when I was in high school.
Really?
He played for St. Paul my senior year.
Oh, St. Paul.
We went to St. Paul, and the one player that my coach said that we watched film on and said we gotta take him out the game. We gotta keep him under control, and we didn't, of course. But Jalen McCleskey, he ran all over us, receiver, running back. I mean, the guy was just all over the place. I mean, he's got an NFL bloodline. I mean, his dad played a little bit for the Saints, and he's also a coach at Tulane. So, I mean, watching him, I did not know when I played against him in high school. Like, geez, I graduated in 2015. So, I mean, that's like 6 years ago now. I didn't think I was watching an NFL player at the time. So, I mean,
that's actually crazy.
I think it might be an interesting pickup. I'm curious to see how preseason looks. I mean, there's only 3 games, so it's like you got to get these young guys a lot of reps.
For sure.
Yeah. I mentioned the jet sweeps and the end arounds for Baker. I think he's going to be very good at that.
I actually think Curtis Samuel is a good comparison.
I think someone else said it before him, but Calvin, I think that's actually a really good comparison.
NT College U agrees with you. So,
Dever Henderson, man, underrated Saints player. I mean, I think that was the last receiver we've had from LSU on the Saints.
Not since Eric Martin. Eric
Martin, and then there's Dever Henderson, and then that's it. I
don't think we ever had another LSU wide receiver
since Dever Henderson. That's crazy.
I think those are the only 2 LSU wide receivers we ever had.
I mean, that's a possibility because I don't really know if we had any LSU receivers from like the 60s or 70s or even early 80s before Eric Martin. But I mean, I just don't understand why we don't get LSU players. But
we almost did with Terrence Marshall.
I know, but then Joe Brady wanted to be petty. He just does not like Sean no more. That's all.
NC College U, he actually messaged me about that. He sent me that. And I was like, damn, that's crazy, man. Hey,
It
well,
is
yeah,
what it
because
is.
I guess it was payback, you know?
Oh yeah, because I think he's still kind of salty at Sean,
Yeah.
and because he was telling Sean that he was going to take the LSU gig, and Sean told me he was making the biggest mistake of his life, and sure enough, it was the complete opposite. Greatest college football team ever, offensive wise and defensive wise. But the Baker pick, I'm going to give that a C plus. I mean, I'm basically giving like everything kind of like an average pick outside of the Landon Young one and maybe Ian Book, but Gowan Baker, man, I mean, Curtis Samuel is as good as a comparison as any, I think.
Yeah, I gave it a C plus too. And I think Curtis Samuel's a good comparison. And I compared it to Traquan Smith. Uh, the Pelicans just lost, by the way. Not shocking. But
Yeah, I was kind of watching it at the same time. I'm disappointed. Oh, well.
for sure. Well, that's another talk for another day. So we get into these undrafted rookies, and there's a there we obviously we got a bunch of them. Is there one that stands out in particular that you think will make the 53-man roster?
Well, me and you already kind of talked about. We both agree on this one. It's Trill Williams. I mean,
Yeah,
they met with the guy about 3 times
yeah.
before the draft. Trill Williams from Syracuse. He's a corner, and I think he could probably play a little bit of safety and nickel. I mean, I'm not saying he's a lock, but if he just winds up bombing, then I'm going to be disappointed because the guy is very good.
Well, he's a ball hawking safety, you know. He's a ball hawking safety, and I just seen that video of him last week where he ripped the ball out. I forgot who they're playing, but he ripped the ball out and took it to the house. And I think it was in overtime he won the game. That was crazy too. And man, if he can make some turnovers. And he kind of reminds me of Saquon Hampton, who we drafted out of Rutgers a year or two ago, which is another guy who had ball hawking skills, but and he also has the best name. High hopes for him.
Yeah, a lot of my friends from Slidell is going to love that name, Trill. So, I mean, another one that I don't think we talked about was the DB from Tennessee that we picked up, Bryce Thompson.
Yep.
That's
He could
going
be
to
a nickel guy, good nickel guy.
another one. I mean, I'm looking at the list right here, and I mean, it's an
Eric
interesting list.
Burrell, Dylan Shooter out of Iowa State.
Dylan Shooter. I mean, tight end. I mean, they went with blocking tight ends instead of catching tight ends. I mean, they really have a lot of high hopes for Adam Troutman, which I do too. I think Troutman's going to be very good this year.
He's going to be my tight end fantasy. That's who I'm drafting.
I'm retired from fantasy. I got my one championship. I'm good for life.
Oh,
now.
come on, dude.
No, because the year after I won my fantasy championship, I mean, it's just too much stress. I started playing it in 2007, and I retired last year in 2020. It's a good thing because 2020 was such an awful year.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it was.
The one interesting name I find on the list is not even the punter that's on the list. It's the running back, Stevie Scott III out of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I started asking, I think I asked Ross Jackson this, and I asked him, tell me a little bit about Stevie Scott. I wanted to see if he knew. And he said basically that was kind of like their third down guy. I mean, he's a power back. I'm like, okay. And then I watched this film, like, oh my God, this guy, man, Tony Jones and Dwayne Washington better look out because I mean, this guy, he's kind of built like Latavius Murray. He really is.
Funny to say because it says he's similar to Latavius Murray, but with less speed. He's more of a north-south guy. Wow.
Which I absolutely love power backs. I love power running backs. I just love power football in general. I really miss the power eye games.
And I believe this is a John Hendricks article I'm reading it from. Is Stevie Scott? He says he could be the Darius Fichter of training camp. So, remember Darius Fichter? He tried to make the team a little small running back. I don't know how tall Stevie Scott is though.
I think when I looked it up, it was around 6'1", 6'2", kind of
Mhm.
like literally all the measurables of Latavius Murray. Which I
Mhm.
mean, I think Latavius Murray might be on his way. I'm not saying Stevie Scott's coming for his job whatsoever, but
Right.
I kind of really thought we should have taken a running back because I mean, if when we traded up for Landon Young, I think we could have stayed put. I really wish instead of Stevie Scott we would have picked up someone like Trey Ragas from UL Lafayette because I mean, man, that guy was
Who
good. But
who he signed with? I know he went undrafted. Do you know who he signed with? Trey Regis?
not off the top of my head, but I can find that out for you at this very moment because I mean, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Let me see. Sure, I saw it. The Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow.
The Raiders. I mean, you know, John Gruden loves his football.
And Elijah Mitchell went to the 49ers. He got drafted by the 49ers.
I was
NT
very
College
happy for him.
U says Tony Jones Jr., our last year undrafted rookie out of Notre Dame, he says he will go off this season working with Winston, putting in that work, he says.
We'll see when the bullets are flying live. But a good thing about Tony Jones Jr. is, I mean, the quarterback he's probably going to be playing with in preseason, I'm pretty sure he has a lot of chemistry with from college.
Oh, yeah, in book. Yeah, you're totally right. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, hell, if anyone can vouch for Ian Book, it's Tony Jones Jr. I mean, I wish Tony Jones would have got more reps in that Panthers game, but I think he got hurt literally on the second carry that he carried. I was disappointed. I wanted to see what he could do.
And one more guy I want to go over right before we go ahead and head on out. We're going to have us a punter battle this year. First time we had a punter battle since what?
I think since we've had
2008?
I think since we drafted Morstead, I don't even think we had another punter on the roster when we drafted.
What's his name? We had
Steve Weatherford?
Yeah, that's who it was.
I don't know if
we got rid of him though.
Let me see, because I'm pretty sure we drafted Thomas Morstead the same year we went to the Super Bowl. Let me check on that because I mean, hey, why not? And we did. Let me see who our draft class was that year. I'm sure it was garbage because we didn't start drafting good until just drafting well. Excuse me, until just a few seasons ago. Let me see the NFL draft. Wow, it was very horrible. The only good pick two picks from that draft that we had was Morstead and Jenkins. We only had 4 picks. We had Chip Vaughn and Stanley Ornex. That didn't work out.
I remember them actually.
Thomas Morstead was the only punter on the roster at that time.
Wow. Well, they drafted him. Yeah, they drafted him the 6th round.
Round 5. We didn't have no other picks after that.
Right. That's crazy, man. Yeah, honestly, I think this is a good chance. We have a lot of undrafted guys that have huge potential to make the roster, especially with a bunch of holes we have. So we might see a couple guys make the roster, and you know they will, because we always had some undrafted guys. Marquez Callaway last year. So
I think Callaway's gonna step up. I mean, I really think this is the most interesting draft that we've had probably since 2006, because, I mean, we just don't know what's going to happen this year. Everyone has high hopes, and I'm just trying to keep everyone kind of in the realistic realm, because, I mean, I was born in 96. I've pretty much been watching football with my dad probably. To my knowledge, I mean, he says I watched it with him since the time I was born, but I have recollections of the 1999 season, and that's when I started watching. So I've been watching this game probably since 1999. I've seen a lot of the lows, and I've seen a lot of the highs. So I've seen it all. Not all. I didn't live through the 80s and all that like my father did, but I lived through the Aaron Brooks era. I lived through one season of Mike Ditka. I lived through all those 7 and 9 seasons we had with Drew, and then we went to with the Bull. I think we're going to probably have a season where it's going to look like we're going to come out the gate swinging hard, coming out in the first round, like we're in a boxing fight. First round, we're swinging, knocking people on the mat, but they're going. But I mean, I think it's gonna kind of be like in 2001. I think in 2001 we went, I think 7-9. I just don't see. Of course, I want us to do good, but I
definitely see
think,
where you're coming from. I think this year has a higher percentage of us having a losing record than past years. And that's not saying. I mean, that obviously. Well, I'm saying that I'm not saying we're gonna have a losing season. I just say we're gonna. It's probably a higher percentage that we will have a losing season compared to others. Looks like this is your dad, huh? Right here.
yes, that's my dad.
He said, "Now, y'all don't forget what I said last time. How we got Aaron Rodgers.
I thought he was crazy when he said, oh, yeah, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. Never thought he would request the trade. Yeah, I kind of got to give props to my dad on that.
You at your dad's school, you did. That's what you did.
I'm still a student in life, so, I mean, he knows more than me.
For sure, bro. But I think that's going to do it here on Off the Dome Sports. My name is Sean Militello. I am the host. And this is Mr. Logan Graffia. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.